Hey guys, Lytane here, and today I'm going to be doing a movie review on the latest Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film, Out of the Shadows. This film is a direct sequel to the 2014 film Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that was directed by Michael Bay. That movie got a lot of bad and negative reviews, so I'm surprised to see a sequel, though not really that surprised because, well, it's Hollywood and the movie did gross a lot of money because of the nostalgia factor that everybody went to see it regardless of how bad it was. I would suggest going to watch the first film because there are a few plot points in this film that wouldn't make sense if you haven't seen the first one. This movie follows the four hero turtles, Leonardo, Raphael, Donatello, Michelangelo, after the events of the first film. In this, Shredder has been captured and he is being moved from one place to another. April is looking into it and making sure that nothing goes wrong, while the turtles are sort of kicking back and not really doing much. They just watch basketball games, I think. They don't really do much in the year that they have off. It's discovered that the evil Baxter Stockman is working with the Shredder in order to break him out of his prison. So the turtles try and stop that from happening, but they fail. Shredder gets teleported away from his prison, but in doing so, he accidentally manages to find a bad guy named Krang. Krang and Shredder share this 30-second scene together where Krang basically says, collect these 3 items and then my weapons can come through and you and I can work together to rule the world! And Shredder's like, alright, let's do it. And then Krang gives Shredder this mutagen in order to create another army of mutants to combat the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The rest of the story is pretty bland with all the characters just trying to find these 3 pieces before the bad guys do. The turtles don't even know about Krang for a lot of the film, which is really weird. They only know about the Shredder and Baxter Stockman, so when Krang does come out, it is a legitimate shock when they see this. So of course the turtles fail and Krang comes through in his Technodrome. Shredder goes, yes, now we can rule the world together, but then Krang's like, nope, I lied and I'm just gonna rule the world by myself. Sorry, puts him on ice and then throws him into what he calls his toy box. So the turtles take down Krang in the Technodrome, whilst April O'Neil and Casey Jones attack the human facility in order to stop the portal from happening. And of course, it's all one big happy ending by the end of the film. This movie has a lot of problems with it that were evident in the first movie, but they haven't really fixed in this one. But I'm going to do this a little bit differently. For every con that I think of, I'm going to think of a pro in order to try and counteract that. One of the big negatives that I have about this film is the story. The story is very, very weak in this film, and it wasn't even strong in the first film to begin with, but this one just has so many plot points that it just doesn't need to happen. There are all these scenes in the police station that are focused on Casey Jones, but man, are they boring. Shredder gets kidnapped and the police commissioner comes up to Casey Jones and asks him what happens. He says some weird ninjas attacked our truck, and then a garbage truck comes in and shoots off the ninjas and fights them and almost takes the Shredder down, only for them to disappear in a portal. And the police commissioner's like, no, you're crazy, you're an idiot, you're suspended, don't follow this case anymore. What? That is what happened. There are other people that are there to corroborate this story, and there are surely traffic cameras or something there. Plus, not everybody died. I'm sure there are still thugs laying across the floor somewhere that they captured, but no, none of it. Every single police scene in this film, I was yelling at the screen because they were just so stupid. Pro, the turtles in this film are a lot more brotherly than in the last one. In this film, they talk to each other, they joke, they insult each other, much like real siblings do, and it is really, really nice compared to the first film where they were just sort of there. This is a great improvement over the first one, and it does lead to a little bit more character development in each of the turtles. The villains in this film are fairly boring. Shredder does nothing in the film. He doesn't even fight once in the entire film. When he's about to start fighting, he gets frozen and then that's the end of him. Baxter Stockman is also a little strange where he can just do whatever he wants, and he's a little bit like the Nutty Professor. There are a few times in this film where he just goes Why was he doing that? I don't know. Krang is okay as a villain. I like the voice acting of him, the design of him was okay, but he's only in about 5 minutes of the film. He's in 30 seconds near the beginning, and he's in the last fight scene, like for 5 minutes at the end. They needed to spend more time with Krang, especially with Krang and Shredder's relationship that they started to form in the beginning of the film, but then fizzled out. Bebop and Rocksteady started off cool. I did not mind Human Bebop and Human Rocksteady. They were stupid, but they were stupid in a sort of fun way, especially the way that they get introduced to the Shredder, because they're like, oh, we're massive fans. But then when they got turned into Bebop and Rocksteady, and they just stayed really, really stupid, and they didn't have any kind of growth. They were just really, really obnoxious a lot of the time, and I couldn't watch them. In the shows, Bebop and Rocksteady are stupid. This was the kind of stupid that is Hollywood stupid. Real people aren't like this. The other villain of this film is the police force, and they are really, really lame, and I really hated every scene with them because they just did not know what to do with them, or why they spent so much time on the police force is beyond me. Will Arnett was great. I really enjoy him as an actor and as a character in this film. He is funny, he is quick-witted, he is really on the ball for a lot of the film, and he just hams up his performance because he knows this is a dumb film, but instead of taking it seriously like a lot of other people in this film, he just hams it up and just goes way over the top in so many of his scenes, and it's just so much fun. I really like the idea that he takes all the credit for the saving of the city from the first film because the Turtles don't want to be in the limelight. This is great because it just shows off his ego, and that was one of the best parts of the first film, and now this is just amplified to a whole nother degree, and he has so much fun with this. Casey and April are boring and bland, good-looking people. I don't particularly like Megan Fox's looks, but, you know, to each their own. They don't have any kind of character growth or any kind of character arc whatsoever. Casey has the minimalist one, where he is like, I want to be a detective and I want to be taken seriously in the police force. So let's not be part of the police force and go renegade and try and stop these bad guys. Typical Hollywood trope. Where they start him off really, really stupid and his dialogue is super, super bad. He does get a little bit better when he goes to rescue April as Casey Jones. He wears the hockey mask, he has the hockey stick, he has, you know, all that kind of stuff, and that was really cool as an introduction as the heroic Casey Jones, but because we got this stupid guy beforehand, it really undercut who he was. For the rest of the film, he's kind of this passive-aggressive guy that doesn't really know what's going on with the film, but he's just kind of doing it because. A lot of the things that made Casey Jones fun in the other films are just not present in this. He and Raph don't have this really big rivalry. Him and April don't have this kind of love interest. He's just a washed down version of this character, and that's really a shame. Pro. Some of the action set pieces in this film are pretty good. They're pretty fun to watch, they're very nice to look at. The final fight with Krang was particularly good, much better than the final fight with Shredder from the first film, where Krang loses his arm and then he does like, oh, it's just an arm because it's a robot suit. So then he goes and another arm just comes back on and he continues fighting. That was really cool. When the Turtles are fighting Bebop and Rocksteady in the aeroplane over the jungle, I thought that was a really good fight, especially because it transitioned from on a plane to in the jungle. It was just a little bit too much CGI in my opinion, where nothing had any weight or feel to it, much like the snow scene in the first movie. But unlike the first film, this had no human characters amongst the action, which meant they could get away with a lot more, but it also meant that there was no ground in realism. Con. Aside from Will Arnett, I found most of the humor in this film to be pretty atrocious. The majority of Mikey's lines were forgettable and very, very cringe-worthy, but not in a good way, when he is supposed to be the funniest turtle of the whole bunch. Just watch some of the other TV shows and you will understand the Mikey character a lot better than this film. The Bebop and Rocksteady humor is just really, really stupid, although I did enjoy one joke a little bit when they first get mutated into their rhinoceros and warthog, is they pull open their pants to see what it looks downstairs. That's funny, but that should not be in this film to begin with. It was just funny on a very, very dirty level. One of the scenes that are meant to be funny in this film is that Splinter is meditating and he's just about to become self-aware, and he's got like 5 seconds before he does it, and the turtles come crashing in. This is an obvious joke, and it is telegraphed so far in advance that what was even the point of this joke, because it wasn't funny. The other thing is that from the first movie, they learned how to be ninjas from a little book, and now I think Master Splinter is watching YouTube in order to become a better sensei. They introduced this element into the story where the mutagen that can turn humans into warthogs and to rhinoceros can turn the turtles into humans. There's always been this little bit of confliction in the shows and the movies where the turtles want to live amongst the humans, but they're scared to because they look like turtles and most people will think of them as freaks. The fact that this film focuses on that and is the contention of the brothers in the film is a really nice addition. Too bad by the end of the film they're just like, nah, screw it, we don't want to be human anymore. So I ran out of pros, so I'm just going to do a couple more negatives. Con. The turtles in this film, although they do act a bit more brotherly, are a lot more annoying. Every turtle has one trait that massively defines them. Mikey is the stupid funny one. Donnie is the tech. Raph is angry. Leo is the leader that always second guesses himself. In this film, all of these traits are played up so much to give these brothers tension in this film. Because Leo is the leader and he always makes the calls, he believes he's always right. Raph gets angry at anything and everything regardless because he's the angry one. Mikey does really bad jokes because he's the funny one. But the turtle that annoyed me the most in this film was Donatello. Every tech thing that he does has no rhyme or reason to it, he just does it because he's the tech guy. Whenever Donnie does anything, there's no exposition, there's no explanations, there's not even any techno jargon on it, he just does it. When the Technodrome is flying out of a portal, he just looks it up on a camera and can instantly tell you that its owner is Krang, it's called the Technodrome, it comes from Dimension X. How? Or when April O'Neil is like, hey, I need to break into this place. Donnie, can you give me some tech? Anytime Donnie came onto the screen, it was just a Deus Ex Machina. They just used him to further the plot in order to continue the story without actually having to think of a plot. Because of all this tension, all the brothers are fighting, and some of that seems really, really forced. When they're fighting Bebop and Rocksteady in the jungle, after the fight, when they lose, Leonardo's like, oh, we're a shit team because we can't get along, or something like that. I don't really remember the line, but that's along the lines of that. And I was like, where did that come from? You guys were really working together fairly well in that fight. Fell apart towards the end because, you know, Bebop and Rocksteady had a tank. They even got over it pretty quickly by the end of the film when they're like, oh, we have to work together in order to stop the Technodrome. So after all that, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles UTS is not a terribly good film. In my opinion, it is slightly better than the first film, but that is not saying much. There are still a lot of problems in this film which were evident in the first film, but they didn't really fix. So I'm going to give this film a 3 out of 10. It is so low because it was so bad and it was so hard to watch. Though I would give the first film a 2 out of 10 because this one is slightly better in its story, it is slightly better in its character development, but that's not saying that much. I think people should stop Michael Bay from having his little fingers and all these nostalgic things and just get rid of him and actually have people that appreciate the source material rather than just use it because they want some money. Why can't somebody like Marvel make the next TMNT film? Then it will be good. Until then, at least I can watch the TV shows because they're still pretty good. So guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. Write any comments down below of what you thought of TMNT UTS. That's what I'm calling it anyway. Because maybe you liked it, maybe you didn't. I don't know. Bye.